Trigger Squad, T. Antonio, owner and creator of Trigger Devils. How are you guys doing today? We'll kick things off. My cat's crazy again. I'm sure he'll be making an appearance today. I want to kick things off just by saying thank you for all the support on our Patreon. The approach that I took was just so kind of upfront and honest about it, and I think that that's why it went well and you guys really received it well. So thank you for the feedback and the positive feedback on the Patreon. It gets me to my topic today about being honest about stuff. This is obviously a huge topic right now, which is Sean Spicer basically lying. I mean, in the video we're watching today, they call it falsehoods. And to me, it's like, why don't you just say lying? Because like that's what you mean. But I've yet to see. I don't give a crap about how large the audience was at the inauguration. I really don't care. I do care about the lying about it. I think that's kind of not kind of weird. I think it's pretty harmful. So as soon as I see an argument that's halfway decent to the side of they aren't lying, or Sean Spicer didn't lie, I will, give that a fair shot. I've not seen a halfway decent argument for that yet. So we have to, make our decisions here, draw a line somewhere. It's to right now, I'm going to say it's a lie. So then comes Kellyanne Conway. And if you do not know who Kellyanne Conway is, you should. She is a force to be reckoned with. She is kind of incredible. She is the first woman ever in history to run a successful presidential campaign. I mean, that alone is just insane. So I just say don't underestimate Kellyanne Conway. Ever. She goes on Meet the Press, and we're going to watch the video together of what transpired leading up to the alternative facts. And I really want to break it down with you guys and explain. This is all speculation, my speculation, but I'm going to use my intuition to explain to you guys how this went down and really what transpired. Let's get into the video.
Then explain, you did not answer the question. Why did the president send out his press secretary, who's not just the spokesperson for Donald Trump, he also serves as the spokesperson for all of America at times. He speaks for all of the country at times. Why put him out there for the very first time?
Sean Spicer is the Secretary of State, by the way, and Kellyanne Conway is counselor to the president. So they're both in the White House right now, just to make that clear.
In front of that podium to utter a provable falsehood. It's a small thing, but the first time he confronts the public, it's a falsehood?
Okay, so you can see Kellyanne right here she's prepared. She is ready to go off on this guy. And you can just see it in her face. She's waiting for him to finish, and it's because she's ready to go off. So let's see what she says.
Chuck, I mean, if we're going to keep referring to our press secretary in those types of terms, I think that we're going to have to rethink our relationship here. I want to have a great open relationship with our press, but look what happened the day before, talking about falsehoods. We allowed the press to come into the Oval Office and witness President Trump signing executive.
Classic defer. Well, actually, this was a pretty good defer. And that leads up to what's going to happen next. But this was a pretty classic deferring the question, talking about something else. That's fine. It's kind of normal, to be perfectly honest, when someone doesn't want to answer a question.
And of course, the Senate had just confirmed General Mattis and General Kelly to their two posts, and we allow the press in. And what happens almost immediately? A falsehood is told about removing the bust of Martin Luther King Jr. from the Oval Office. That's just
okay. So she's basically trying to debunk this interview. She's trying to say this question actually. She's trying to debunk the question by saying other falsehoods have been reported on. That's what's happening here.
Flat out false. And
it was corrected immediately.
Chuck, why was it said? Why was it said in the first place? Because everybody is so presumptively negative.
To the head of that
that it's okay. No, excuse me. Oh, no. That report.
All right. First of all, that was so cringeworthy. Oh my God. Okay. But also, he's trying to talk over her. She clearly has got experience in being talked over. because she is not having it. She pierces through. Not easy to do. You don't see a lot of women do this, and a lot of guys do talk over women. So mad props to Kellyanne for taking control. I'm not saying that I totally agree with her message or what she's saying when she pierces through, but I've got to pay respect to the fact that she did.
Was writing to on behalf of the press pool. That falsehood
that.
got spread 3,000 times before it was corrected.
Excuse
and
me.
it's
It
still
does
out
not
there.
excuse, and you did not answer the question.
I did answer your question.
No, you did not. You did
Yes,
not
I
answer
did.
the question of why the president asked the White House press secretary to come out in front of the podium for the first time and utter a falsehood. Why did he do that? It undermines the credibility of the entire White House press office on day one.
Don't be so overly dramatic about.
Okay, problem with that. Don't be so overly dramatic about it. That was when she started to lose me a little bit here. That comment, that sort of thing, don't be so overly dramatic. I think about relationships that, between people, couples or whatever. When someone tells another person they're being overly dramatic, they're trying to minimize how they feel about something. Not a strong argument. It's not the argument I would have gone with, because Meet the Press really, it comes off to me like Meet the Press actually is talking about something important. The only time you ever want to say you're being so dramatic about this or don't be so dramatic about this is when you're 100% sure that the drama of it is the only reason why you're talking about it. And that's not true here. So that was kind of a red flag for me. Like, I wouldn't have gone out and said that. Let's see what transpires next.
It, Chuck. You're saying it's a falsehood, and they're giving Sean Spicer, our press secretary, gave alternative facts to that.
Woo! There it is, everyone. The most famous words in America right now. Alternative facts. Now, here's how it played out from my perspective. He pressed the question several times. That's when we got that awkward moment where she had to, cut through him and keep saying her point. What ended up happening, though, is he did throw her off. And let me just rewind real quick. I want to see her facial expression the moment she says alternative facts.
Gave alternative facts to that.
You see that hesitation? You see that moment she breathed in right before she said it? She knew she was saying the wrong thing. She knew that's the moment where she really screwed up. Now, take a moment here. This lady has her feet to the fire constantly, and most of us would crumble under the pressure she's been under. So this is not much of a criticism of her, but it's more of a breakdown of what happened. And she even knows. You can tell right in that moment, just from her body language, she knows that was a screw up. What I think she meant to say is not alternative facts. They were talking about these facts, falsehoods, whatever. And so I think that word was stuck in her head. But I think what she more meant was alternative views. The press secretary brought alternative views. That would have played out so much better. But because the journalist kept pressing the question and threw her off, she kind of screwed up. And that's kind of become, alternative facts has kind of now become a meme. It's become a hashtag. It's kind of become, a big deal. So yeah. Okay, let's just leave it at that. That's what I think happened.
But the point remains.
Wait a minute. Alternative facts? Alternative facts. 4 of the 5 facts.
The hair flick. She knows. She knows right now, and she's gone from proactive, talking about other falsehoods in the media. She's going from that proactive approach into reactive here. Let's see the whole kind of. He heard alternative facts and he is done. He is going to dig into this. So let's see how she handles.
He uttered. The
Hey,
one
Chuck,
thing he got right
Chuck.
was Zeke Miller. 4 of the 5 facts he uttered were just not true. Look, alternative facts are not facts. They're falsehoods.
Chuck, do you think it's a fact or not that millions of people have lost their plans, their health insurance, and their doctors under President Obama? Do you think it's a fact that everything we heard from these women yesterday happened on the watch of Barack Obama? He was president for 8 years. Donald Trump's been here for about 8 hours. Do you think it's a fact that millions of women, 16.1 million women, as I stand here before you today, are in poverty along with their kids? Do you think it's a fact that millions don't have health care? Do you think it's a fact that we spent...
Let's run the clock out. not a bad strategy. She's got stuff to say. I'm sure she's got plenty of material. Let's just run the clock out. You know what? I would do that. I think that that's a decent strategy, actually. Hopefully I wouldn't find myself in this position. But if I did, running the clock out isn't such a bad idea.
Billions of dollars on education in the last 8 years, only to have millions of kids still stuck in schools that fail them every single day. These are the facts that I want the press corps to cover, and this is why I'm here at the White House to change
what I don't
awful
understand
numbers
is
like that.
That is not what yesterday was about.
Ooh, awkward. This is what happens when you go from proactive to reactive. If you're proactive, you stay in complete control, but if you get into reactive mode, things can fall apart because she just proved the journalist's point, which was, why are we even talking about the crowd size in the first place? And that stinks. I don't even know how to put this. It stinks that the journalist, his point was made by her, but we're still jerked around. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no conclusion here. There's no settlement to be had here. However, they're kind of like proving each other's points. They almost like agree with each other. They do agree with each other. They're just so partisan they can't see it.
So you
Yes,
have not
it is.
answered the question. You did not answer the
It's
question.
what this presidency is going to be about.
You sent the press secretary out there to utter a falsehood on the smallest, pettiest thing.
I don't think anybody
And I
can
don't
prove that. Look, I
understand
actually
why
don't
you
think
did
that.
it.
Maybe this is me as a pollster, Chuck, and you know data well. I don't think you can prove those numbers one way or the other. There's no way to really quantify crowds. We all know that. You can laugh at me all you want, but I'm
not
very glad.
laughing.
Okay. Again, she just proved the whole premise. Sean Spicer said that Trump was the largest crowd for inauguration. Again, who cares? She's saying you can't guarantee that, basically, here. She's not trying to say that, but that's what she's saying. Now, here's where things go even, like, darker. He chuckles at her. Unprofessional, for sure. Unexpected? No, I kind of expected him to chuckle, to be perfectly honest. And this is where she really loses me. She goes into a tiny, tiny bit of victim mode, and I don't want to see her do that. She doesn't need to.
I'm
Look,
just
Chuck,
befuddled.
well, but you are, and I think it's actually symbolic of the way we're treated by the press. The way that you just laughed at me is actually symbolic of the way, very representative of the way we're treated by the press. I'll just ignore it. I'm bigger than that. I'm a kind and gracious person.
Hey, NBC News fan.
Okay, so that's the end of the video. Whew. Super cringy. I'm a little amped up about it. This is only the second time I watched this video. I basically just watched it in passing at the gym, and I immediately knew I wanted to make a video about it. The purpose of this video is not to take a side. The purpose of the video is to digest it and really analyze, play by play, how this thing went so sideways. That's really my point. Being able to analyze stuff like this is super, super important no matter what profession you're in, no matter what you're trying to do. And I even encourage Kellyanne Conway to go back, and I'm sure she probably has watched this over and over and over. She can learn how to have better handled the situation. What I think would have been best, what I would have done in her shoes, is I would have flat out said, if I'm not going to answer a question, I would have said, I'm not going to answer that question. No comment. Move on to the next thing. And so that way, if he continues to ask the question, my answer remains the same. I'm not going to answer that question. And you can say, why? Say, let's talk about more important things. You have more important topics to talk about other than the crowd size? Well, let's do that. Not going to answer the question. That way, the audience doesn't feel jerked around by different answers every time he asks the question. And although it's not the answer we want, we clearly, as the audience, we want the information that he's asking for. But getting, I'm not going to answer that question, at least keeps things honest versus trying to get around it. So I would have, if I were in her shoes, just said that. Going back to the Sean Spicer thing, I think that they don't need to, they can do whatever they want. But if I were in the situation, if I was Sean Spicer, I would come out and just admit the fault and say, hey, look, this is what happened. We shouldn't have said this. We shouldn't have even really gone on the topic. Let's talk about some more important things. There's not a lot of situations in politics that are recoverable that way, that are so easily recoverable. This is one of them. So take the win and just recover it, because there's going to be political situations, there's going to be foreign politics, decisions made throughout the presidency, decisions that can't be taken back. this is one of them that can be fairly easily. So again, if it's me, if I was Sean Spicer, I would do that as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this little breakdown. I really like expressing this kind of analytical view, and I think Americans, as well as the rest of the world, need to have an analytical view on journalism and on the people that are being interviewed more. Like, you need to be super critical and analytical of what you see. So I hope you guys see kind of what my thought process was as I was watching this interview and found it helpful. If you did, drop a like on the video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we do it for Patreon if you want to check it out. We're trying to improve our rig here, so if you're interested in supporting that, please go ahead. The link's down in the description. That's all I have for you guys today. T. Antonio out.